Welcome to the details now. It's been a long wait, but finally the city of Accra has a new mayor. President Akufo-Addo's nominee, Mohamed Ni Ajay-Soa, secured a record 100% endorsement from the assembly members. Here's how the things unfolded at the voting this morning. Those are visuals from the swearing-in ceremony earlier today. Well, that was how it went. And the honeymoon may not linger for long because the city is faced with numerous challenges: sanitation, flooding, congestion, many more. The assembly members who voted for him are themselves in a hurry to deliver, or so they seem. Actually, their president said he is in a hurry, and we'll bring you some more on the assembly members and their reaction. But in the studio with me is Malik Abbas, who is editor at myjoyonline.com. Matilda Womega, who covered that story, will also join me in the studio for some more of the things that I can say that our cameras weren't able to capture. Malik, you're welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Okay, now let's look at this gentleman and his position now. He looks pretty young to me.
Yeah.
But let's start from the vote. 100%, is that characteristic of the AMA?
Not quite. In times past hasn't been so, but what we have seen is what has happened amongst all the four that the president first nominated for Tamale, Kumasi, Accra, and I think another one. All of them have secured such large numbers. Tamale, Musa Superior had 100%. I think the Kumasi guy had a similar percentage, and this one as well. So it's indicative of a certain overwhelming endorsement being received by these guys, which means the consultation processes before their nomination have been properly done, and therefore you are getting total endorsement by the assemblies.
But he looks quite young. I mean, not to say that people who are young cannot achieve much. We saw someone like Okovandapoy who tried to do his best. I mean, he got a lot of backlash, but he got people praising him as well. From where you sit, I don't know if you know much about this gentleman. Do you?
Not quite. Haven't looked into him yet.
Okay. Well, perhaps our correspondent will be able to give us some more on him. But let's look at what lies ahead of him. We know the city. We know the problems, and we've talked about the problems over and over and over again. What we seem to be missing is the solution. Yeah. What lies ahead of him from your perspective?
A lot, and I'm guessing you are saying he's a bit young because you are comparing him to the people who came before him. And you are talking about Stanley Niajiri Blankson. You are talking about the man who just left, Okovandapoy, who is by all standards, a big man. And before him, Niajir Blanksy is a big man. I think he's actually a member of Council of State now. So compared to those who have come before him, you would say he's quite young. But probably that is what is required to fix the intractable problems that have bedeviled this city for such a long time. And you listed many of them: sanitation, flooding, security.
Mind you, they've got oversight responsibility over the schools in the region as well.
Absolutely. Education. I think the biggest problem is financing. And that, for some of us, is where the problem lies. And it's also a problem because the issue about financing have been incompetently done. Because over the years, this is the city center, this is the capital, this is where the businesses are, this is where the money is, this is where the opportunities exist, this is where all the big properties are located. And so why the AMA cannot raise the funding it needs to fix the problems that have been fixed is one problem, one question that has eluded answer. Because you have all of these big facilities in town, all that you need to do is just take the money and properly manage them. I think over the years, what the Assembly has been accused of is incompetence and mismanagement. So they are unable to generate creative ideas enough to raise money to solve the problems. And then when they raise the money is not properly managed. And I think that as we go into the issues, you would see why this has been a challenge and why we haven't been able to resolve the problems that have bedeviled the city.
I'll come back to you, Malik, but let's deal with Matilda Bonaga, who has just joined me in the studio. She covered that voting process this morning. How are you doing? It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I'm wondering why you're smiling this wide. We'll deal with that later.
Because the new mayor is
Oh, really? Let's deal with the issues on our table right now. This is an overwhelming support, if you put it that way. What did the Assembly members say after the election and after the declaration of the election?
Okay, so Gifty, first of all, when I entered the hall, unlike previous years where you have a mayor and then you have the Assembly divided and all that, this time when I got to the hall, you could tell that these are people who have already made up their mind. They know
even
where,
before the voting
before
started.
the voting, they know where they are headed. So there wasn't issues like related to, you know, those issues related to...
You wouldn't find those
division and agitation,
exactly, here and there who would be like in opposition.
Yes, it was a very smooth process. It took like 40 minutes for them to go through the election process and then declare him, and everybody voted for him. 109. They all voted for him, and not a single member.
Malik, I find that a little strange in politics. I mean, does it happen? Because sometimes when, let's take outside Africa, where, for instance, in Rwanda, where they had a referendum, and it was, what, was it 90% or something? And then everybody was like, really? How do you secure this huge majority? I mean, you will get the majority, but when it is over the top, then people get suspicious. I mean...
Well, the law says 2/3. The person needs 2/3 majority. He has 100%. And I just pointed out to you that it's not only him. We saw that in Tamale, the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly endorsed Musa Superior 100%. We saw that in Kumasi. Remember that in Kumasi particularly has been a difficult one. But
which is why I'm curious, Malik, because you know politicking. I mean, it doesn't get that smooth, does it?
Okay, you have to remember that, first of all, these are fresh, new people who have been appointed. And people tend to want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they have just come. So first of all, this is a new president who has just won election. And he has appointed a fresh person. This is a fresh appointment. So people will give you the benefit of the doubt in the hope that you'll be able to generate ideas that will serve as answers to all the problems. I can guarantee you that in the next 4 years, if this guy is appointed again or nominated again, he will not get 100% endorsement. The reason will be simple. By the time he would have served 4 years, he would have stepped on toes, he would have disappointed some, he would have excited many, so he won't get that endorsement again. But he's getting this overwhelming endorsement because people want to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I believe they are taking a cue from the president who says, look, we are in a hurry, we must find solutions to our problems. So you don't want to be seen as not supporting the president's agenda. And remember that the president himself obtained an overwhelming endorsement. Any attempt to not support the president's nomination is standing in the way of this overwhelming endorsement that the president received at the elections.
I see.
Nobody wants to make themselves an enemy of the whole overwhelming majority of the Ghanaian people.
I see.
So people
hopefully
will
after 4 years, the story wouldn't be that there will be issues and probably, and I mean, then we can have a smooth process and we can move on and then development will come to the city. But Tilly, let me come back to you. You spoke to some of the assembly members, 109 of them, all of them voting for him.
Exactly.
What did they tell you?
So for these members, they also said they are also in a hurry because they want to see developments in their area. And they know it's the mayor of Accra who is going to drive that. So key things they want the mayor to address is flooding and unauthorized structures within the capital city. They want him to immediately address these issues.
Well, hear it from the horse's own mouth now.
At us now, we are approaching the rainy season and all our drains is choked. So we need deserting, massive deserting. So I will urge that Ajesowa should come to our aid so that we can have the deserted done in the area.
What was the main reason why you were part of those who gave him the 100% endorsement? Why did you give him that endorsement?
Okay, I know he understands the game and he has passed through the stages. From electoral area to constituency to regional, and now he won the mayor. So we know that he understands the game.
Because we can see that intelligence and the vision in him. That is why we think Ajesowa is the best person to handle Greater Accra for us. Because looking at Accra as a developer, you can see the kind of transformation that he can give to Greater Accra. That is the main reason why we gave him that overwhelming vote.
What are the key things you would want him to address now that he's been sworn into office? What key things do you want him to address as a mayor of Accra?
Looking at Accra, you see, we have a lot of unauthorized structures that we think are in places that we think they are not supposed to be there, which coming of Ajesowa, we think he will put things in place, even by not at least trying to let people cry, but he will do things that will make people, feel happy.
We, the assembly members, we are in a hurry because our time is too short in assembly, you understand. So we need development in our areas to get re-elected again. So we don't need to waste any time. We have to give him the nod for Accra to be developed. That's why we gave him the 100% endorsement. Yes, looking at his background, he's a development-oriented person who believes in anything development. So we believe in his competencies as a person, and we are sure he's going to deliver the things that Nanado wants him to deliver for us.
Okay, so they believe in his ability to deliver. Anything more?
For the mayor, he isn't speaking now. For him, he just took assumed office. So what he's going to do is to take stock of what his predecessor left him. But he is critical in dealing with issue about sanitation and flooding within the capital city.
That's what he said?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hopefully he will be able to deal with that. So after we saw Okuvandapoy there as well. What was the relationship? I mean, we've seen him laughing and smiling and all of that, but that's very typical of him or of a politician. But you were there. What was it
before the elections, he was given the floor, and then he asked the assembly to give him all the support that he needs, because Accra has a lot of things. Accra has a lot of things that they really need the mayor to address. So he's saying that they shouldn't be politicizing the office of the mayor, but they should just give him all the support that he needs in order to achieve the goals that the president has for the region. Okay.
Well, Matilda Wamaga covered that particular story, and that's why she's got a lot of information that we don't have. But Malik, let's try and finish up this conversation. We've seen Okuvandapoy coming in to, provide his advice, etc. If you were to advise a new mayor, as young as he looks, what would be the advice that you'd give him about?
That he should unlearn from his predecessor.
Unlearn?
Yes, that the biggest problem facing this city is lawlessness, because this is the only city where anybody is allowed to site a structure wherever you want. And this is the only city where you can apply for a building permit. On the law, you can take 90 days to get the building permit. in some cases, it's taking 5 years, 6 years to get a building permit. That this is the only city where city authorities can actually take money off the books, and then you can go ahead with your building and nothing will happen. That this is the only capital where buildings can collapse and kill people because there was no proper supervision in the process of the construction. That it doesn't happen anywhere. That he cannot preside over an AMA that does not enforce its laws. That when people apply for building permits, they should get them, and that nobody should have a right to initiate any construction without proper permit, and that the permits must be issued by people who know what they are doing, and that the AMA cannot not have money. Sitting in Accra with all these facilities, all these buildings, all these businesses, and yet you cannot raise sufficient money to put in the structures that are required to have a sane city, because Accra is simply insane. Those things must stop.
Those things must stop. We know that it's not the I wouldn't like to call it the KIA tax per se, but we know that the tolls that they used to pay to the assembly, which was another source of revenue for the assembly, has been taken off by the government. You're talking about staying in Accra, you cannot not have money in Accra, yes, like you put it. But now that this is cut off, what other thing can they do in the market that will help them improve the state of the market?
1,000,001 things.
1,000,001 things.
Just charge the appropriate rates, take the money, and utilize the money properly. I think that all these shops and businesses, if you take them appropriate taxes or rates, and you can pave the roads, pave all the roads in Accra, and pave the places, the spaces in between their businesses, that you can move away hawkers from the streets, that when people open their shops, there are better chances that people will patronize their goods and their services. People will not have qualms paying. But if you continue, this madness continues to obtain in this city, that anybody can cite any business anywhere, and that people can come and park a car in front of your shop and put used clothes on top of their car and sell and block your shop, and then reduce the opportunity for people to see your wares and to patronize them, and reduce your chances of making money and making profits, nobody will ask you to pay any rates that you'll be willing to pay. So we must introduce laws, or the laws exist, those laws must be enforced. That first of all, you can't just sell anywhere. That there are designated places where you must sell. That you cannot take pavements which are meant for people to walk and take them away. Right. It should not happen. And I cited the example of Ken Oforiatta, who said that he lives in a house at Cantonment, where if you were to ask him if he lived in that kind of house in Europe or in the Americas, he would not pay less than $2,000 or euros a year as property rate on that house. In Accra, he's charged 20 Ghana cedis property rate a month. And he made the point that if you charge him $1,000 a month, it will not make a dent on his finances. Why are the...
him. That's him. It doesn't mean that everybody else can
Great.
pay that
He
much.
says on his lane alone, he can count 200 houses. Those 200 houses,
they can pay
$1,000 a month. It will not make a dent on their resources. If you take 20 cities from those people, and you go and take 50 pesos from the KIA, it is injustice which should not be tolerated. So I am totally for the removal of the tolls, that the AMA can take as much money that they want, provided that when they take the money, they will use it judiciously.
Exactly the
and
point.
They will use
the
it
point is about the management of the resources, because I think that they are still raking in a lot of resources, but it's about the management. Would you agree?
And accountability.
We'll see about that. Well, this is a new administration, isn't it? So we expect a lot more from them. Are we expecting him in studio tomorrow, Tilly?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Okay. Well, it is Matilda promising you that she's bringing her, the new AMA, the new AMA chief executive into the studio. So tomorrow, if you don't see him, then you have to hold her responsible. But Matilda Wamega is our reporter here. She has been following up on that voting process at the AMA. Malika Basdabu here is editor at myjoyonline.com, helping us to do some analysis about the job, really, the task that lies ahead of the new mayor. We wish him all the best. Hopefully we'll get him tomorrow. Thank you very much for passing through. This is The Pulse with me, Gifty Andalpi. I'm going to take a very quick break. When I return, I ask you, or I tell you about how your lifestyle may be causing you some cardiovascular diseases. Do stay.